So I like to call these things a pickup line, right? Because that's what they are. Except we're trying to pick up work. We're not trying to pick up partners necessarily. Depends on your jam.
What do you do? This is a question that cripples a lot of people, especially in freelancing, because we tend to go into too much detail, too little detail. In my case, go with my whole career history to explain where I am right now. So that kind of takes you all the way back to the early 2000s. So today we're sitting with Tiffany. So grab a pen and paper. She's going to workshop with us an elevator pitch. So that, especially as wordy, non-contextual, here is my entire life history kind of people like me can shove into one sentence what it is that we actually do to earn money and gain clients. So, Tiffany, firstly, let me ask you, what do you do?
I write, I speak, and I teach, and I deal with writing in all three of those things. So I write for writers, I speak about writing, and I teach writing.
Huh. Okay.
Bellissimo.
Yeah, I thought I was going to blindside you, but I should have known better. So,
look,
teachers.
I have multiple elevator pitches, depending on who's asking. So first, let's do away with the title elevator pitch. It's a stupid name. No offense. This is what people do call them. It's a dumb name. We don't talk in elevators. No one has ever said a word to a stranger in an elevator ever, right? I would literally rather die than tell someone in an elevator what I do for a living. The best it's going to get is nice shoes. Like, that's it. Okay. Or press 5.
I'm probably taking the stairs anyways.
Exactly. Elevators are gross. Yeah. So I like to call these things a pickup line, right? Because that's what they are. Except we're trying to pick up work. We're not trying to pick up partners necessarily. Depends on your jam. But if you can, grab a pen or pencil and a piece of paper or your phone or your notes app, whatever your vibe is, and give some thought to a couple of questions. The first question, I can't remember if this is one of the things that Shea and I diverge on. I know there are quite a few key things, Shea, that you and I just have complete, like, the opposite views. But the first one is, what is your niche? And I don't mean your hyper niche. I mean, is there an industry niche that you are perhaps most known for or most frequently spend time in? Like in my case, it would be financial services. Is there a medium niche? And what I mean by that is, are you perhaps a freelancer who works in digital marketing, SEO, web copy, billboards, radio, insert medium here? Or are you a hybrid? Like, do you only write web copy for travel agencies? Okay, so those are like 3 of the things to think about when it comes to niche. And the only reason we start with this is because it helps to see it on the page. Is the niche that you spend the bulk of your time in actually the thing you want to be spending the bulk of your time in? And if you have multiple niches, cool, put them all down. Then, what are people constantly asking you for help with? Now, I don't mean the stuff that you're competent at, or even the stuff that you're excellent at. I mean the stuff that you're a genius at. Okay? We are not talking about your zone of competence or your zone of excellence. We're talking about your zone of genius. So what are the things that people are constantly asking you for help with in your niche that make you buzz a little bit, that you're like, oh, I love being asked to do that, And then what can you give in your role or area of specialization that no one else can, or that no one else does? Because there may be people out there who can do it, but who just don't, right? So what are the things that you are most likely to lean into when there's a gap or a vacuum? Then the next question is, which of these things do you do that you are profoundly good at, excellent at, genius at, but you absolutely hate being asked to do them? Take those off the list now. Cross them out. Like, I am a brilliant editor. I really am. Like, I could be the shit hottest publishing company manuscript editor the world has ever seen. But I hate doing it, so I don't do it because I don't want to do it. I'm good at it. That is not a good enough reason to do something. I spend a lot of time telling my students, just because you can doesn't mean you should. Okay, so if it's stuff that you are brilliant at, objectively brilliant at, but really feel like when somebody asks you to do it, Cross it the fuck off the list. Then I'm going to quote Rich Mulholland now because he's a genius. And he says he's taken that irritating USP, unique selling proposition, and he's changed it to UPS, the unique problem only you can solve. What is your UPS? The unique problem that only you can solve. Now, here is a way to express it. And I'm going to give this to Megan to put in the show notes. You express it like this. I help, and then you insert your target client to do what? And then you say what it is you help them to do. By, and then you insert your methodology. And then optionally at the bottom, you can say which, and then you tell them what value it adds. So let me give you an example. I, Tiffany, teach in-house marketers 3 creative ideation techniques to help them to generate clever, compelling ideas out of absolutely nothing. Okay, so let me reverse engineer that. So I help in-house marketers, that's the target client, to generate clever, compelling, creative ideas by, what is my methodology? I have 3 creative ideation techniques. Now, this one doesn't include the which is the how does it add value, but you can use this for anything. You can, and I've got multiple pickup lines. So I help financial services companies to achieve credibility through consistent content and comms by creating brand voices that resonate with their audiences. I just sucked this out my thumb, but that I help client to do what, using what methodology, and what value does it add. That's your UPS. It's the unique problem only you can solve. Once you've done this, if you were then to take this into the sales cycle, your goal would be to find clients willing and able to pay for that thing. And if those clients are unique to a particular area, space, sector, then I would suggest that is where your niche would be. You with me? So you can sometimes come to your niche backwards or forwards. You can start with it or you can end with it. But once you're aware of your pickup line, once you have at least one pickup line on the go, you fine tune it to make it as tight as possible so that it's easy to say, and then you need to be more deliberate about using it. Remember that if you were to get into an elevator with someone and they said, what do you do? And you said, well, I teach in-house marketers 3 creative techniques that help them to, nobody talks like that, right? That's weird. But you could say, I help corporates to come up with creative ideas when they've got nothing. Oh, how do you do that? Well, I have 3 creative ideation techniques. Oh, what kind of corporates? Well, corporates that have an in-house marketing team and that put on lots of events and whatever. You can trust the audience to ask the leading questions so that you don't have to say everything in the first sentence. So I'll tell you another thing that happens. When people say to me, what do you do for a living? And I say, I write, I teach, and I speak. They say, well, what do you write? And I say, well, I write advertising mostly. And they say, oh, well, what do you teach? And I say, I teach writing to corporates. And what do you speak about? Writing and advertising. So they will often ask you, if you say the right thing in your pickup line, you don't have to say everything that's in your pickup line. They will ask you the rest of it.
Just looking at I helped my target audience, engineers, engineering and AI firms. I find that as soon as you mention those things, people's eyes glaze over. So,
well, whose eyes?
Then they're not your people.
Engineering and AI firms' eyes aren't going to glaze over.
Okay, fair enough.
But mainstream people's eyes will glaze over, and that's fine. Also, I don't go into detail with mainstream people. So if I'm at a social event and people say to me, what do you do for a living? I don't go into detail. I say, I write, I teach, and I speak. Boom. If you want more information, ask. I don't say I write scripts. I say I write, or I'm a writer. And then they'll very often say, do you write books? No. And then we have a whole conversation. But yes, of course their eyes are going to glaze over unless they are in the communities that you are mentioning, right?
Yeah.
So you've got to change your pickup line depending on who you're talking to. If I'm talking to financial services people at an investment conference, you can be bloody sure I'm going to say, well, actually, I'm a copywriter specializing in financial services. Because their eyes ain't glazing over. But if I say, well, I write radio commercials for Jacaranda FM, they're like,
Yeah.
Horses for courses.
What are your thoughts on including the word freelance? Because I find I do that by default. So in the social setting, I'm a freelance writer. Why do I need to say that? Why don't I just say I'm a writer?
I tell you why I don't do it. In my case, 20 years in, and having gone from one person to having 4 staff to having 2 to having me to having 2, the business has grown and shrunk and grown and shrunk. freelancing, identifying upfront as a freelancer undermines how many years I've spent doing it, because it makes me sound like I started doing it this morning. So I never start with freelance. They will very often say, "Oh, who do you work for?" And then I will say, "I'm self-employed." You could say, "I'm a freelancer."
But I never like say there's still a perception out there that freelancer means.
I do.
Do you think so, Meeps?
I think the gig economy makes it worse as well.
Yeah. I've worked with a couple of companies that, let me actually give you a specific example. I worked for an ed tech company that was super feedback heavy. Every university had a different brand voice, and it was incredibly work intensive, like labor intensive, to get any content. And then you'd think it's amazing, and you'd get tons of feedback, and basically everything you wrote was crap. But they were ghosted by so many freelancers because the work was tough. And I think that calling yourself a freelancer kind of lumps you in with that sort of personality. So I don't, on my website, I say I'm a freelance technical writer, but I don't actually, when I introduce myself, I just say I'm a writer. I don't say I'm freelancer. And like Tiffany, who do you work for? I work for myself.
Yeah. I'll almost always get to on a freelance basis somewhere in the story, but I never lead with it, because also every second schmuck in town with a phone thinks that they're a freelance copywriter at the moment.
Well, since 2020, since COVID lockdown, everyone's suddenly a freelance writer.
Since
everyone's a freelance writer.
That's made it worse.
The other thing people will say to you when you say I'm a copywriter, or I'm a freelance copywriter, they'll say, AI is going to take your job. And I'm like, no, Brenda, it isn't. I wish I had $10 for every person who said that to me. I would retire.
AI is getting better, but let's not derail this conversation. Maybe I should ask ChatGPT to write my. Let's actually do that as a.
So I actually did do that. I asked ChatGPT to tell me what Tiffany Markman does for a living, and what I got was so bad that it almost made me rethink some of the stuff I published that the aggregator thinks that I do, the things that ChatGPT thinks that I do not do. And the other thing you should test out is you should ask it to write as you. So you should say, looking at all the published work that exists by Tiffany Markman on Google and everywhere else, please write this paragraph as Tiffany Markman. Good heavens, it was terrible.
Scary.
Yeah, it can't do that.
No.
Well, I learned a lesson the hard way about putting proprietary stuff into ChatGPT, because I was doing a course and I was creating a course and I was using ChatGPT. And now when I asked ChatGPT, who is Shea Casting, they come up with, and this course wasn't published anywhere. It was private, whatever. Is the author of this particular training session, blah, 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 scary. So, I mean, that was quite a long time ago, before I was a bit more au fait with how the model actually works. But that is its answer now to who is Shea Casting as the author of this
I've got
training
a
session
friend who's a musical
that is proprietary.
A friend who's a musical theatre actress who is Jewish. And so she does a lot of Jewish theatre and stuff. And ChatGPT keeps on insisting that she sang in her church choir. She has never even been into a church.
It's classic.
So terrible.
So yeah, that's another thing to let us know in the comments. What does ChatGPT think of you? Sorry, we're getting totally derailed. Tell us what you do.
I actually want to know, were you using the free ChatGPT or were you using the paid model?
No, that was free.
Okay,
so I use both.
The free model, if you read ChatGPT's terms and conditions, the free model is permitted to use any prompt or information that you upload as data to train its AI. If you're on a paid version, it will keep your IP private, so it cannot use that data to train its AI further. But it can't guarantee the safety of that IP if it gets hacked. So
look,
yeah,
the
always
rule
use
is
the
just
paid version.
don't put anything proprietary in either of them.
Or use the paid version.
I will tell you something about paid versus free. Because I give talks on AI, when I give examples from the stage, I only ever use examples I generated using the free version, because my audience usually only uses the free version, so I can't use 4.0 when I'm creating examples for them. So I use them both interchangeably, depending on what I'm doing.
Yeah. Cool. So ChatGPT says that you're a freelance technical writer specializing in long-form technical content like white papers, product articles, and thought leadership pieces. You work with clients in industries like AI, machine learning, chemical fibers, solar power, battery energy storage, electromechanical, and talent acquisition. Okay, that's a new one. And your audience is C-suite executives, subject matter experts, and technical professionals.
That sounds
And then
pretty
it goes
accurate.
on. Yeah, except for the talent acquisition.
Yeah,
Maybe
that sounds pretty accurate.
that was my alter ego. I actually do have an alter ego called Shea that my wife has named my alter ego.
And does Shelley come out after a couple of drinks or what?
Shelley is really good behind the wheel. So it's like literally, if we're in a rainy, I actually almost had a car accident the other day, and Shelley took the wheel, and we were fine. So
okay, good.
Shelley, take the wheel.
Sounds useful.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Shelley, take the wheel.
Yeah, sorry, we digressed really. So, I mean, that was really long. That was not a one-liner. But it was quite kind of in the right ballpark. Shea, what have you got? You haven't used ChatGPT because you're still human.
Yeah, so I've just with Tiffany's, I need some wordsmithing, and I did manage to almost niche down a bit. I said here, I help agencies impress their clients by delivering spot on copy fast.
Yeah, that's good.
Oh, that's a good one.
I would move the words around. So I would go, I help agencies impress. The fast isn't working. I help agencies to impress their clients by delivering spot on copy. I love it, actually.
And even spot on maybe is a bit messy. I don't know. Anyways, but that's the sentiment I want to get across.
Yeah,
I think spot on is very you. It's really your kind of your voice.
Okay. All right. Cool.
Yeah.
I help agencies to produce spot on copy that impresses their clients. I don't know. You can always move things around, you know.
Yeah.
But I like the fast and the spot on. Anyway, I think that's a hell of a good first draft.
I'll let you know when I've come up with V2.
Nice.
Cool. I think let's
thanks for that.
Shea, you and I can probably put ours in the show notes. We'll provide Tiffany's structure as well, and then it's over to you guys. What is your pickup line? We'd love to know. Please pop it in the comments. Tiffany, thank you so much for joining us for these last 4 episodes. It's been incredibly helpful and useful, and it's always lekker to hang out with you. So thank you so much. And to the audience, we'll check you out in the next episode.